Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to my updated Evil Within 2 Classic difficulty walkthrough. So, at the end of the first video, that was all the way up to save 1, and we got to the beginning of Chapter 4. So as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be picking up right where we left off. So, this is save number 2 of 7, and we are going to be going from the start of Chapter 4 to halfway through Chapter 8. So just so you can know in case you're waiting for this part, this video does not contain the Stefano boss fight. The Stefano boss fight is going to be at the beginning of the next video, and that is because this is one of my more strategic save points. The Stefano boss fight can be pretty tricky, so it would be wise to save right before that fight. So this is going to take us from Chapter 4 to halfway through Chapter 8, and let's get started. So first thing we have to do is we have to travel to the north safe house, and if you remember from my last video, this road right here, I talked about how important this road is. This road is the safest way to get from the south end of the map to the north end of the map. There are hardly any enemies around that you have to worry about. You should recognize this location. To the right is the warehouse where we did a lot of stuff in Chapter 3. But this is by far the safest road to get through the city. And if you don't remember, at the end of Chapter 3, a lot of enemies spawned in the map, and some of those enemies were the mutants, the four-legged, two-headed things. Now those guys they like to crawl around in bushes and tall grass, and so that's another reason you want to stick to the street here, is because then they can't sneak up on you like that. Your first instinct, in fact my first instinct when I played this game was, oh, I'll just creep through the bushes. But they can also creep through the bushes, and they will kill you. They are very fast. They will track you down. There are also a couple witches in the area. So the witches are what I call the albino girl lost enemies. They carry butcher knives, and they have long white hair and white dresses. Now, if you remember in the last video, I told you to use the opportunity to open the safe room, because it's a lot easier to do it then than it is now, because you can see there's this new type of enemy patrolling the area, and you can still get into the safe room if that enemy is patrolling. You just have to be a bit more careful, because what happens is, to open the safe room you have to shoot an electric bolt at the panel, but then inside this garage right here there's actually an enemy on the ground, and so it might be kind of difficult to kill that enemy while you have the other guy to worry about. So that's why I said to open that door in Chapter 3 instead of Chapter 4. So hopefully you followed that advice. If you didn't, it's not the end of the world. You just have to be a little more careful. So you saw right there, I was able to just basically run right in here, no problem. And then again, since I've already been to this safe room back in Chapter 3, I already picked up the items. So that's why I'm just going to jump straight into the terminal, and we are going to truly now start Chapter 4. So in Chapter 3, I introduced you guys to the Marrow, which is where we got the shotgun. Now the Marrow is a subsystem within STEM, which basically allows you to travel between different parts of the town of Union. In Chapter 4, this is where we're actually formally introduced to the Marrow. So this is the first mandatory visit to the Marrow, and Chapter 4 is basically going to take place entirely in this area. And so what happened is, in my original walkthrough for Chapter 4, there's this fight that we have to get through. And in my original walkthrough, I told you guys that you had to kill every enemy in the area to get through the fight. It turns out that is not the case. So I apologize, I forget the username, but somebody commented on that video of mine, a certain YouTube user, and they said, Nick, it turns out you're wrong. You can actually use the ladder to get past this fight really easily. And that's what I love about the channel, is when people leave alternate strategies in the comments below, because a lot of the times it turns out that there are better strategies than the ones I employ. Obviously, I'm not the perfect gamer or anything, but so the point is, again, I forget the username, but I would just like to thank him if he's watching this video, because I am very jealous that I can't take credit for this strategy. So the strategy I'm about to show you is just, it's absolutely brilliant. It makes a very difficult fight look like child's work. So first off, in this area, there's some pistol ammo and shotgun ammo you might want to pick up. But this is the room I'm talking about. So we're going to come to this room here. And what's going to happen is we're going to open a door, but to open the door we have to first survive a lockdown. And in my original walkthrough, so there's 3 waves of enemies, and in my original walkthrough I said, oh hey, you have to kill all 3 waves in order to get through the lockdown. That is not the case. So you see this ladder that I'm on right now? This ladder is about to become your best friend, and I'm telling you, it's just an absolutely brilliant strategy. I wish I could take credit for thinking of it, but unfortunately, I can't take credit for creating this strategy, but I can take credit for showing it to you guys. So I hope this is able to help you out. Now, before I trigger the lockdown sequence, I'm going to come into this room here and pick up these items. You'll notice there's a dead enemy on the ground. That enemy shouldn't get up unless you start shooting at it, but it would still be wise to just keep your distance. And so now we've gotten all the enemies, or all the supplies we're going to be able to get. Now again, the reason this strategy is very important is because for the first half of the game, we are really going to emphasize conserving ammo. That is a huge, huge, huge factor here, because that ammo and all of the supplies that we're able to save are going to come in handy in Chapter 10. So ideally, right now, I'm going to show you how to get through this fight without using a single bullet. I'm telling you, this is an absolutely brilliant strategy. So go ahead and begin the lockdown by aligning these waves. Okay, and what it's going to do is the game is going to prompt you to hold down the X button, or square if you're on PlayStation. So go ahead and do that, because if you start climbing up the ladder now, it will automatically knock you off the ladder. So hold that button down. Now, climb onto the ladder, and you're going to want to go to this exact height. So notice where my hands are currently. My right hand is on the rung right below the floor. I think you can even go one lower, but this is a safe location. So check this out, guys. I'm just hanging out on the ladder. All of these enemies are just crowding underneath me, and they won't attack me. They can't reach up high enough to hurt me. They can't knock me off the ladder. I am literally going to just stay right here in this position on this ladder for about 3 or 4 minutes until the lockdown is over. And to make things even better, it's not like the enemies stay underneath you, because you can imagine waiting through the whole lockdown. If the enemies just stood beneath you the entire time, that wouldn't do much good, because how are you going to get off the ladder? But the enemies go away. I don't know why they do this. It's just in their programming. After a couple seconds, they just leave. They just leave the area, and now you can see here comes the second wave of enemies. So every time this happens, the current wave is going to automatically see you. So you see how this lost right here, he just automatically ran up to me. He's going to just run across the ladder like an idiot, and then he's going to wait, lose interest, and now he's just going to leave. And then these guys are going to do the exact same thing. This is just an unbelievably effective strategy. I was just laughing the whole time I was recording this. I could not believe this worked. And you might be thinking, well, Nick, what if an enemy tries to crawl up or down the ladder? Surely that will knock you off. It doesn't. It frickin' doesn't. The enemies will actually climb right through you. I don't know how else to explain it. They just glitch right through you. So stay on this ladder for the entire lockdown sequence. So you see, here goes the second wave. They lost interest. They're going to start going back to their respective doors, and after a couple more seconds, that will trigger the third wave. And in the third wave, there is a witch. So again, the witches are the albino enemies with the white dresses, the white hair, and the butcher knives. If you guys know what the actual name of those enemies are, please let me know in the comments below so I can stop using my own name for them. But until that moment comes, I'm just going to keep calling them witches. And so here you see, here comes the third wave. You can always tell a new wave is about to enter when the automated voice rings out throughout the room. And I mean, just look at this. I'm just standing on the ladder. All of the and look at right here. The enemy just crawled right through me. Look at that. The enemy just crawled right through Sebastian's body. It's almost laughable how impressive this strategy is. And so you see, here comes the witch. The witch is about to see me. The witch is about to run at me and try to attack me, and all of her efforts are going to be in vain. So there goes that enemy just climbing right through me. The witch is just going to start spazzing out underneath me, and then eventually, like all of the other enemies, she's going to lose interest and be on her merry way. And from here, we just have to wait about another 30 seconds until the lockdown is over. Those doors are going to open, and it's important that before you drop down and make a run for the door, just make sure that all of the enemies are gone. Make sure they're at least far enough away to where you'll have a decent amount of time to run away. Most importantly, make sure the witch is far enough, because the witch is faster than all of the other lost. So make sure she is gone by the time you get off of this ladder. So you see how she's going back towards that door. She just went inside the room, so she currently is no longer a threat. Now you can see that guy up there. There's still going to be a couple regular lost in the area, but there you go. After about 3 minutes, the lockdown is over. all we did, all we did was stay on a ladder the entire time. Did not waste a single bullet. Now I'm going to drop down, run through here. Just run as fast as you can. I don't think the enemies will chase you into this area, but, you know, you might as well act like they can just to be extra safe. Get through this door, and then the enemies surely won't chase you in here, and we can continue on through the tunnels. So chapter 4 is pretty short, but it is difficult. That fight, trust me, I know from experience, that fight is pretty tough if you actually try to kill all of the enemies. And that's, like I said, that's what I did on my original walkthrough, and that was a huge inspiration for making this new and updated walkthrough because of the new strategies that I learned. I mean, that you could just automatically see how much more effective that was than my original approach. Alright, so anyway, we're going to do another ladder trick right here. We're just going to run past these two enemies. You should have just enough time to get yourself up this second ladder. The enemy will reach at you with no effect. Now, I'm going to actually pause here for a second because sometimes the enemies will climb up the ladder and they climb faster than you. So I'm just going to wait, make sure no one's going up, and then as soon as I feel like I'm safe, I'm going to go ahead and make my way up, turn to the right, and make a run for the door. And that will be all for that section. And so now we only have one more thing to go through. This part is really easy. This is the gas leak area. So at the end of chapter 3, O'Neill gave us a gas mask. And this is pretty similar to chapter 11 in the original Evil Within. So if you remember, there was this part in that game where we were in a factory and there was a gas leak and we couldn't use our guns. Same exact thing here. You can't use your guns. So check this out. I don't know why this works, but it does. There's going to be one enemy up there. You can see her off to my right. For some reason, if you're down here in this little trench, she can't see you. She'll look right at you, and she just doesn't see you. So I'm just going to immediately run past her. You'll hear her. So she does see me at the last second, but I'm just going to sprint down these stairs, completely bypass her. Very easy to do, and you can see right here at the end, there's a little tunnel that you can duck under, and she won't be able to follow you anymore. And so now all that's left for us to do is there's one of those at the beginning of this level. We saw that enemy patrolling the safe room. There's another one of those in the area, so you could see that it's right off in the distance. Now these enemies, if they grab a hold of you, it's a one-hit, one-kill. They basically will throw up acid on your face, and you die automatically. So you cannot let this enemy get a hold of you. Better off just not even letting it see you. Get through this entire area without it ever knowing you were here. So the enemy is going to go into this hallway over here, and I'm going to slowly make my way up. Now you have to do this quickly. You only have a certain amount of time before it turns back around. So go ahead and trail the enemy, and then take a right here and get into this doorway. You're going to want to wait for the enemy to make another pass by, and then you're going to activate the electrical panel to open the door that is locked. And so I'll use this quick opportunity to share with you guys a horror story from recording this. So what you're seeing right now, this entire video, it's about an hour and 10 minutes, and it contains mostly flawless gameplay. Pretty much flawless gameplay here. This is actually my second time recording it. So let me tell you what happened the first time. The first time I recorded this, I started at the beginning of chapter 4. I beat chapter 4, I beat chapter 5, I beat chapter 6, I beat chapter 7, and I beat half of chapter 8, and I got to the area where I was going to save my game before the Stefano boss fight. Everything was looking up. I was very encouraged, very optimistic. I had flawless gameplay. Everything was going the way it should. And then here's what happened. I'm going up to the room where I can save my game, and there's a mirror there. And the mirror took me to Sebastian's safe room, so I could save my game. I approach the mirror. Everything is fine. I trigger the mirror. I get through the mirror. I can see the save station in front of me. And as I'm approaching the save station, my game crashed. And apparently this is a common problem, especially from what I hear on the PS4. My game crashed on me after an hour and 20 minutes of flawless gameplay, going from chapter 4 to chapter 8, and my game crashed on me, and I just about lost it. I almost quit the walkthrough. I almost quit my YouTube channel. I was more angry than I've been in a long time. And you know, it only took me a couple hours to regain the nerve to try it again. But you're basically going to see me from now on throughout the rest of the walkthrough. You know, there are times where I can save my game, or I can just push on a couple more minutes and then save it at a better location. I just choose to save it as immediately as I can, because I do not want to ever have to risk my game crashing on me again in such a vital moment. And it's just, you know, the reason I was so mad was because it's completely unacceptable. If I had gotten to, you know, Chapter 8, and if I had made a silly mistake and died, that's okay. That's my fault. I'll take responsibility for that. There's nothing, you know, anyone can do except me. I made a mistake and I die. But if the game crashes on me for no apparent reason, that's unacceptable. That is why I got so angry, because I went through all of that flawless gameplay for nothing. I wasted an hour and 20 minutes of my life with nothing to show for it, and none of it was my fault. And I was again more mad than I've ever been. It was just a terrible experience. But luckily, that did not happen in this recording, and it hasn't happened in my future recording. So at the time of recording this commentary, I am currently at the start of Chapter 11, and you know, I anticipate things going pretty well from there. Anyway, guys, we are now pretty much done with Chapter 4. So we're going to re-emerge from the Marrow, and we're going to be approaching City Hall. So in the last video, I mentioned to you guys that if you really want to, you can make this your first save. So right here in this room, if you haven't saved your game yet, this would be a really good spot to save, right before Chapter 5. I was just really afraid of having to do Chapter 3 all over again, because that's the really long chapter. So I said, you know what, I'll just save at the end of Chapter 3, and if I have to, I'll replay Chapter 4. If you are a bit more aggressive, you can save your game for the first time right here, and then every other save should be the same from here on out. So I'll leave that opportunity up to you. But anyway, once you are ready to go, there is a mirror down here, so you can use that mirror to go to Sebastian's safe room to craft some weapons if you want. But again, sticking to our plans of ammo conservation, we're going to do the exact same thing here. So if you remember from the original playthrough, I think I forgot a key. There's actually a key behind that shed that I emerged from. I guess I forgot to pick it up. Anyway, outside of City Hall, this is where we fight the Guardian. And it turns out that you can actually get past the Guardian without fighting it. All I recommend you have is a shock bolt. A shock bolt will come in handy. So if you have to craft one, craft one. Chances are you probably already have one anyway, because we haven't really used a lot of them up until this point. Now, before I go and fight, or, you know, before I go and encounter the Guardian, I'm going to run down this street here, and then at the end of this car, you can take a right, and there's a fallen Mobius soldier on the ground. I can't remember what they're carrying. I think it's some sort of pouch. Let's see. It's so it's a syringe pouch. So that those pouches, when you find them, they allow you to hold more of that item in your inventory. So that's really cool, because in the original game, that was something you had to upgrade. You had to upgrade how many bullets for a single weapon Sebastian could carry, things like that. In this game, it's pouches. So by finding that pouch, I can now carry 4 syringes instead of 3. And here we go, guys. So to take on the Guardian with this approach, and this is a really, really cool approach that's going to save you a ton of ammo, a ton of time, and a ton of stress. All you're going to need to do this is a couple pistol rounds and a shock bolt. And that's all. That's all you're going to need. And you're going to have to be good at sprinting. So hopefully you feel comfortable with that. So anyway, go ahead, and once you're ready, you're not going to have a chance to turn back after this. Once you're ready, interact with that dead soldier on the ground, and that will bring you inside of the front of City Hall. And now, as you can see in front of me, the Guardian is about to form. And like I said, this is where the game wants us to fight the Guardian, but why fight an enemy? We can be smarter than that. We can use our brains instead of our weapons, and that's exactly what we're about to do. But this part, I won't lie, this part is very stressful. It's very nerve-wracking, which is why I recommend saving before this level, either at the beginning of Chapter 4 or at the end of Chapter 4. But here we go. As soon as you gain control of Sebastian, go ahead and sprint over to this van here. Equip your pistol, and you might want to make sure that the shock bolt is currently set on your crossbow. Go ahead and run over to the left side of City Hall. Pull out the pistol and shoot the red barrel right there. That will cause a big explosion, and it will allow you to pass through this area. Now, attached to this bus right here, you could see a tripwire, so go ahead and stick to the left side, duck under it, and then continue to run around this corner. You'll notice how I'm already out of sprint. Now shoot behind this box right here. That will cause another explosion. That tripwire, you have to trigger it. There's no way around it. Go ahead and disarm that bolt. Then duck under this one. Equip the crossbow. Shoot a shock bolt right in front of this door. Run up to the door and then just start rapidly mashing the A button or the X button depending on what system you're playing on. You should have plenty of time to do this. And you can see that I had so much time, I ended up not even needing the shock bolt. So sometimes what will happen is she'll be right behind you. The shock bolt will stall her, and then you'll be able to open the door while she's getting shocked. You can see right there that I did that so fast that she wasn't even able to catch up to me. So I ended up wasting a shock bolt. That's okay. I'd rather waste one shock bolt than die and have to redo a bunch of gameplay. So at the end of the day, it's all about those sacrifices. What are you willing to give up so that you don't die? And in that case, I was willing to give up a shock bolt. Now in this area here, there's going to be 2 enemies, and I don't know why, but I always have trouble stealth killing these guys. I just can't get their patterns down. I can't find a good opportunity, and it just never works for me. So you see this guy here, he actually spotted me, and he's coming over to investigate. The gameplay here is really quiet, by the way, so you might be thinking that I have the game audio turned down too low, when in fact the game itself just has like no audio. There's no background music, it's very quiet gameplay. Alright, so anyway, I threw a bottle to try to just, get him to turn around, and it's just not really working for me. So at the end of the day, you might want to just resort to pulling out the shotgun, shooting this guy in the head, and being done with it. My inspiration here is that I'm trying to save as much shotgun ammo as possible. And then you can see, of course, because of the idiotic stealth, I mean, look at that. I hit him with an axe and he's still alive. So when that happens, don't panic, just pull out the pistol, fire a couple shots in the chest, and you should be fine. Now there is a second enemy in the area that surely is going to be alerted if you cause a ruckus killing the first enemy. So again, I'm going to try the same thing here. I'm going to try to just sneak past this one, but you see that because of the poor stealth mechanics, it's going to end up spotting me, and then I'm going to have to just use my shotgun to finish the job. So the main takeaway from this room here, it's not a difficult room. It's just difficult to conserve ammo in this room because for some reason, stealth killing these guys is more difficult. At least for me, I couldn't figure it out for some reason. Now the good news is, if you get past the Guardian, you're pretty much golden. So there still are going to be some tricky parts coming up, but the Guardian is by far the hardest part of this stretch of gameplay, in my opinion. The Obscura boss fight is actually really easy if you know where to stand, which is what I'm going to show you. Chapter 6 is incredibly easy. Chapter 7 is stressful, but not too difficult. And keep in mind, I should point this out, when I say easy, that's a relative term. I'm saying it was easy for me compared to the other chapters, and probably to most people it was easy compared to other chapters. But, I have a friend who, there's this part coming up in Chapter 6 where there's the white ooze monster, and you have to shoot it in the head 4 times in a certain amount of time before it kills you. So for me, that section isn't very difficult because I've been playing shooters my whole life, and I know, I'm pretty good at them. So I don't have a problem aiming under pressure like that. One of my friends, he's somewhat newer to video games and so hasn't quite evolved those skills as much as some other people. So for him, that part was a bit more difficult. And so when I say things are easy, in no way do I mean to kind of put other people down, kind of trying to indicate that you aren't good. It's mostly when I say easy, I mean that it's easy relative to other sections in the game. So relative to the Guardian fight, I would say it's very easy. But, everyone has a different experience, so I can't say, I can't put that in absolute terms. Anyway, guys, once again, I'm not going to waste resources crafting shotgun ammo because there's going to be shotgun ammo that I can pick up later on. Instead, I'm just going to craft a couple of bolts because the bolts are typically things you can't find. So for Obscura, I recommend using harpoon bolts and maybe some explosive bolts. I wouldn't bother really using shock bolts on her. The main weapons to use against Obscura are the harpoon bolts, the explosive bolts, shotgun, and pistol. And obviously you kind of want to save the shotgun as a last resort, but it's good to have ammo in case you need it, but just don't waste resources crafting that ammo because we can find some to use.
I'm still gonna find you.
Alright, anyway, so we're now in City Hall, and all that's left in Chapter 5 is actually the Obscura boss fight. So there are no enemies in City Hall besides her. It's mostly more of a dramatic kind of cinematic experience. So this room right here, this is the entrance to City Hall. This is the normal entrance you would go through had you fought the Guardian, but because we didn't fight her, we went in through the side entrance. So make sure you go into that room. There is some gunpowder, and there's also a syringe you can pick up. Alright, so you just saw her actually running away from us in the distance in kind of a creepy fashion. But anyway, guys, just to give you kind of a heads up on what is to come. So this video is going to take us from Chapter 4 to halfway through Chapter 8. We're going to save the game a second time right before the Stefano boss fight. In the next video, which is going to be called Save 3 of 7, that's going to take us from Chapters 8 to Chapter 9. So that doesn't sound like a big stretch of gameplay, because it's not. The reason we're going to save so frequently is because the parts that we're going to have to get through are so hard that we don't want to have to do them twice. We don't want to have to do them any more times than we need. So anyway, the third save is going to come at the end of Chapter 9, and the fourth save is going to come at the start of Chapter 11. And perhaps the hardest part is going to be the start of Chapter 10, which is the cabin fight where you're with Torres and there's just a ton of enemies that rush you. I was fortunate enough to actually beat that section on my first try. And I'll tell you right now, the only reason I beat it on my first try is because I've been managing my resources so well. So when I tell you guys not to waste resources crafting ammo, when you can just either save ammo or pick up ammo when you find it, I mean it. Those are the strategies that literally saved my playthrough when I got to Chapter 10. Because once I got to Chapter 10, because I was able to accumulate so many resources up to that point, I was able to craft 7 shock bolts. I was able to craft full ammo on my shotgun, and that was all I needed to get through the Chapter 10 fight. So, you know, I'm not saying that I'm the best walkthrough maker. I'm not saying my strategies are perfect. All I'm saying is that I know what I'm talking about because I've done this. I've done it so far. And at the time of recording this commentary, I am currently at the start of Chapter 11. I'm going to try to get through the O'Neill flamethrower boss fight and then get through Chapter 12. I'll be saving again in Chapter 13 before the firewalk section. I'll be saving in Chapter 14 after the firewalk section, and that will leave me with one more save that I'll use somewhere between the final bosses of the game. So right now, in terms of saves, I'm in a pretty good position. It looks like I'll be able to beat the walkthrough. The problem is I just need a little more practice with the O'Neill boss fight because I only did it once on my original survival difficulty playthrough. So I just haven't had a lot of time to learn it, and so that right now is causing me some problems. It's hard enough to get to that fight, and then to survive it is even tougher. So we'll see. You know, hopefully I can get those done. My goal is to finish this walkthrough this upcoming weekend. By finish, I mean at least finish recording it, and then I'll get to the commentary as soon as I can. But yeah, that is my current goal.
Another one.
You know, it's kind of exciting too because on one hand, I'm a little worried. So a walkthrough is only as successful as the amount of people that need it. And not every, so say you have 100 people who buy the game. Chances are only 50% of those people are going to attempt the game on the hardest difficulty. And that's being generous. You know, most people just play the game once and that's it. So I'd say anywhere from 30 to 50% of people actually attempt the game on the hardest walkthrough. Then you look at classic mode, and that probably turns a lot of people off right away. For example, one of my favorite YouTubers is Seraphim17. He does similar things. He does hardest difficulty walkthroughs. He actually is the one that inspired me to do these. He straight up did not even attempt classic mode. He did a nightmare walkthrough, and he said in it, he just didn't think classic mode was worth it. He said it wasn't going to be fun, and it just didn't look fun to him or appealing. So the thing is, as far as I know, there's only 2 YouTubers that do hardest difficulty walkthroughs that are pretty well known, and that's Seraphim17 and Mike Betancourt. Seraphim17 is not doing a he's not doing a classic walkthrough, and Mike Betancourt just started his survival difficulty walkthrough. So chances are he's going to do a survival difficulty walkthrough, then a nightmare difficulty walkthrough, and then classic. So that puts me on kind of the front end of things. I think I'm the first YouTuber that's made it this far with a walkthrough. I mean, not with this walkthrough, but with my initial walkthrough, I made it all the way to chapter 10. So anyway, I'll return to this talking point in a moment. For now, let's go ahead and start the Obscura boss fight. So, again, what you're going to want to start off with is the harpoon bolts. Now, I ended up not doing so well with these, so I ended up abandoning them. The pistol is also effective against her, so against normal enemies, the pistol is not very helpful, but believe it or not, it's not too bad in this fight. In my opinion, the most important part of this fight is where you position yourself, and so I'm going to show you exactly where I like to stand. Alright, so Obscura, what she does, all you have to do here is you don't have to kill her, you just have to run down the clock that's at the top of the screen. Unfortunately, she has the ability to pause the clock, and to get the clock running again, you have to hurt her enough, you have to cause her enough damage to get that clock running again. So this corner that I'm standing in right now, this is the best corner in the room by far. And you're going to see why that is in a couple seconds. So first I'm going to equip my harpoon bolts, and I'm trying to find her so that I can get a shot off, but I wasn't able to do it fast enough. So there you see she runs again. Unfortunately, she stopped behind the wall, so I'm just going to be patient. I'm not going to go out looking for trouble. I'm just going to stay here in my corner, wait for her to present herself, and then I'll try to cause some damage. Okay, so here she comes. She's out again. Unfortunately, this time she started charging me. So I'm going to just run around the corner and shoot her a couple times. So right there I got her with an explosive bolt. And so check out the usefulness of this corner. So now I'm going to lure her away a little bit. Mostly it's just this side of the room. The corner is great, but the side of the room is really helpful. So you see right there I shot her once with the pistol, and that was able to resume the clock. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run away. However, I'm not going to run too far, because the longer she sees you, the longer she chases you, and that will allow the clock to get to a lower time. As soon as she loses interest in you, she'll go back and pause the clock, and then you're going to have to do the whole thing over again. So while it sounds crazy, it's actually not a bad idea to let her see you so that you can just keep running away. Alright, so now the clock has stopped again. I am back in my corner. I'm going to prep some bolts, and I'm going to go to work. Now again, you only want to use the shotgun here as a last resort. I'm going to come over to this corner because she is currently on the ceiling. And now you could see her up in the air right there. So I'm going to try to hit her really quickly. I don't think I actually hit her with that. So I'm going to run away back to my corner, try to draw her out. And again, this corner is where you're going to want to stand because it's a really easy corner to run around. I don't know if you noticed this, but it has the shortest wall segments out of every other corner. So that makes it really easy to run circles around this corner, which makes it really easy to run away from her. Alright, so here she goes. She finally came back out. Going to try to sneak in some damage. Unfortunately, I missed again. So right here, the problems aren't coming from her. The problems are coming from my accuracy. But anyway, now I have re-equipped the pistol. Now I'm taking out the shotgun. And now notice how I'm just running circles around this corner here. I'm going to wait until I get right behind her. And then you see there's one shot. There's two shots. Clock resumes. Again, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to let her see me intentionally. And then I'm just going to keep running around this corner here. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep running until the clock runs out. I'm going to try to, you know, skim as much time as I can off of that thing. Again, I'm purposefully letting her see me so that it wastes more time on the clock. So she's about to stop it again. That's okay. We're going to resort to the same thing here. So I'm going to start shooting her. Hopefully, if I didn't have to reload right there, I would have been able to do enough damage right then and there. Unfortunately, I had to reload. Now, again, the reason I'm not using my shotgun here is because, one, pistol ammo is easier to come by, and two, I like to save shotgun ammo for instances where I actually really need it, and this is not one of those instances. So again, I'm just going to keep running around this magical corner. Finally, there we go, caused her enough damage. Now, I think I'm going to have to do this one more time. So I'm going to try to not have to do it again. I'm just going to run away. I'm going to try to intentionally let her see me to keep running down time on the clock. Now, on the other side of the room, which I've basically neglected up to this point, there is some ammo. So, you know, I've been using my pistol kind of a lot, so it wouldn't be the worst idea to run over there and try to get some ammo. But at this point, I'm close enough to where I think I'm just going to end up resorting to my shotgun. I'm going to pop her in the face once or twice, and then with 11 seconds left, that should be plenty of time to get through the rest of this fight. Now, I think that one actually did hit her, which is good. So now I'm going to try to hit her again. Unfortunately, I accidentally hit the camera in front of me, which is another reason it might not be the smartest idea to use these. It's just another attempt at saving shotgun ammo. So there's the pistol ammo I was talking about. Again, I don't like going towards that side of the room, but if I have to do it, I have to do it. And now I'm going to once again resort back to the shotgun. At this point, it should only do 1 or 2 shots to get that clock running down again. And there you see, 11 seconds, plenty of time, and that will run out the clock. Like I said, you do not have to kill her. All you have to do is wait till the clock gets to 0. The stable field emitter will restart, and that will bring about Obscura's demise. And that will basically bring us to the end of Chapter 5. So Chapter 6 won't actually start officially until we get back outside of City Hall. But in terms of in terms of things we have to do, we're pretty much done with Chapter 5.
Stabilization procedure completed.
Now, the reason I picked up that pistol ammo while fighting Obscura is because once the room returns back to normal, the ammo goes away. So if you don't pick it up during the fight, it's going to be gone forever. And, you know, if it's gone forever, it's not the end of the world. It's just, you know, I figured I had the opportunity to pick it up. I might as well pick it up. But there you go. That's the Obscura boss fight. I think if I'm correct, I didn't take a single piece of damage right there. So if I can do it, I think you guys can do it too. Again, it all kind of relies on where you stand. And in the corner that I was standing in, that seems to be the most effective area to fight her. So there you go. You know, already in Chapter 5, I've showed you. So think of all the strategies I've showed you so far. So in Chapter 4, we had the ladder strategy, which was just brilliant. Again, I can't take credit for creating that one, but I am the one. I can't take credit for showing to you. Chapter 5, I showed you the Guardian strategy, how you can get past her without wasting a single bullet. And then for Obscura, you know, we did have to use a little bit of ammo, not the end of the world. It's more about where you stand. And so I hope so far these strategies have helped you out. Anyway, now we're going to make our way out of City Hall. On our way out, you should see another key. There's going to be a statue right in front of you, so it'll probably be worth it to pick up. You can see it right now right in front of me. So again, you might want to stop and break that, get a free key. Alright, and I believe that's the last thing we actually need to get from City Hall. So I'm going to make my exit. Again, you should recognize this location. This is where we originally started off in City Hall. I'm just returning here because I thought I had left some pistol ammo in here, but I think I was wrong. It's in a different room. So I'm just going to let it go. And then take a left up here, and that will bring you to the exit of City Hall. Alright, so once we get out here, that's going to trigger a rather long cutscene. Again, in this walkthrough, this is something I normally don't do, but I did choose to eliminate the cutscenes from this walkthrough just for my own sanity, because when I'm recording this stuff,
Not doing a very good job of
you know, if I die, I have to redo a lot of gameplay. So I'd rather just redo gameplay. It would be really annoying if I had to re-record every single cutscene. That would be a lot of wasted time. So that's why I chose to eliminate them from this walkthrough.
O'Neil, it's me.
You're going to start a conversation with O'Neil. Again, you can skip it, and that will bring us to the start of Chapter 6. Now you'll notice I don't have an axe in my inventory. I actually forgot to do this, but up ahead there's a trash can underneath that light post. Or it's just to the left of the light post. Inside of that trash can is an axe. I highly recommend you pick it up. If you don't pick it up, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But there's also a key on the other side of this building that I forgot about completely. So make sure you get that as well. So again, there's an axe in the trash can, and there's a key on the ground behind the building. Two things that I just forgot to pick up because, like I said, this is my second time recording this after my game crashed. So I was just in a hurry to get through it. I was really upset.
Was that door there before?
Anyway, I'm going to now return to the safe room really quickly because I just picked up a key. Again, I could have picked up 2 keys, but I forgot one, which sucks. But I did pick up 1 key, so I'm going to go ahead and return to this location so I can cash it in. And also, if you remember, I told you to always leave a mental note of items that you have in your lockers. I remembered that I had some pistol ammo left over, so that's why I returned here, so I could get that pistol ammo. So again, why waste resources building pistol ammo when I can just return here and get it? So it's important to keep these things in your mind as you progress because, again, we're not only trying to conserve ammo, we're trying to conserve the supplies that are necessary to create ammo. Alright, and that's all I needed from there, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the mirror. If for whatever reason you've taken any damage, go ahead and refill your health at the coffee pot. Don't bother wasting a syringe when you can just use the coffee. And now we're going to hop back into the marrow, and this is where Chapter 6 is going to take place. So Chapter 6 is very short. In my opinion, it's very easy. Now, there is one section that might be a little difficult for some people that aren't as good at shooting under pressure. And so for that, I don't think there's any advice that anyone can give you. That's just something that's going to take some practice. But, you know, you're going to have to get through that part at least. I don't know how helpful my gameplay will be during that section. But anyway, here we are. We're back in the marrow, Chapter 6. Let's do this. There's the pistol ammo that I knew there was pistol ammo somewhere. I just couldn't remember where. I thought it was back in City Hall, but that's where it actually was right there. So I'm going to pick that up. Now this door is going to open, and it's going to allow us to proceed into the west access tunnels.
This place is messing with my mind.
So first, there's a door on the left right here. Go ahead and once again align those waves. That will get you inside. And inside there's not much, but there's 2 metal pipes right there, or there's a metal pipe right there. And the metal pipes are what you use to build harpoon bolts. Now in that door right there, there are a couple items inside, but there's also an enemy, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't want to risk it at this point. Do not want to risk it for the biscuit. Now down the hall here, there's going to be 2 enemies. Turns out you could just run by them without a problem. So I'm just going to walk right behind this guy, run, and before they even know what happened, I'm already down the stairs. So 2 enemies there. Again, why waste ammo if you don't have to? Just run, run, run. Can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. That was a terrible joke. I don't even know if I can call it a joke. It wasn't a joke. That was just a terrible use of words, use of the English language. And I think you can tell I'm starting to run dry of commentary topics. But luckily we're back to the gameplay. So you can see all of this this white ooze on the wall and the floor. This is going to be an introduction to the newest monster. I don't know what it's called. I think my friend called it the Watcher. I don't know how he's coming up with these names. So actually, you know what, Chris? If you're watching this video, how do you know all the names of the enemies in this game? Because I can't find them anywhere. I've looked online. I don't know why. I just can't find them. How on God's green earth do you know the names of all the enemies? Because that would be pretty useful for me to know. Now this room here, there's a conversation between Myra and Sebastian. going to go ahead and skip that. And in this room here, this is where we meet the monster. So here we go. Open the doors. You can see it right in front of us, and your first thought might be, holy shit, how are we going to fight that thing? Turns out you don't have to. All you have to do is sneak by it. Now, the good news here is even if the monster sees you, you can just run through this room. So in all honesty, I could probably just get up and run through this room. But that's not wise. It's definitely doable because I have done it, but it's more dangerous. And so we want to mitigate all risks here. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to wait for him to turn around. It'll take a couple seconds for him to first turn his head around. But eventually, I promise you, he will do it. So there he goes, turns around. Go ahead and leave your cover and go over here to the pillar. Now again, this might be obvious, but you don't want to step on any of the white ooze because that will slow you down, and then he'll have a better chance of spotting you. Alright, so again, I'm going to wait until he turns the other way because this angle just makes it look like he can still see me, and I don't want that. So he's about to turn his head now. And that's when you're supposed to go. But at this point, I just really was afraid of dying. So I was just a bit more patient than I needed to be. So you don't have to be this timid, but it definitely can't hurt. And so right there, I was going to make my move, and I accidentally got caught on the container. So I missed yet again another opportunity. Again, that's okay. Better safe than sorry. So here we go now. Finally, I'm going to make my move. Get behind these containers. Okay, now I'm going to wait for him to look over to the left. So that should happen right now. Go ahead and creep towards this pillar. And now, for whatever reason, he's actually going to help us. So you see, if you make your way towards the edge of this pillar here, he's actually going to use his arms to move the containers out of our way. So check this out. I don't know why I know why the game is trying to make it convenient for us, but in realistic terms, he just helped us. He just absolutely helped us. He just provided us with another piece of cover. So here we go. He's about to turn around. Wait for him to turn that way, and then go ahead and sneak behind these containers. And at this point here, you can definitely make a run for it, but again, there's just no point in taking on the extra risk. So he's going to turn around one more time, and I'm going to make my move. Alright, so this is where the part comes into play where you have to shoot him. You're going to have to shoot him 4 times in the face, and then he'll let you go. Now, this part can be hard for some people who maybe aren't as used to shooters. Overall, there's not a whole lot of strategy here. You just have to have a steady shooting hand and try to just perform well under the pressure. I know it's difficult. I know it's not very helpful to say that, but that's just kind of the reality of it. So you're going to equip the pistol. He's going to grab you, and you're going to have a limited amount of time here. If he gets too close to you, he will kill you. So 4 shots to the head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the reason that took 5 is because my first shot hit him in the mouth instead of the red eyes. So I should probably specify that you're going to want to aim for the red eyes. But there you go, 4 to 5 shots in the face. He'll let you go, and that'll be the end of Chapter 6.
This place was supposed to be fucking
and that will lead us, as you can imagine, what comes after 6, that will lead us into Chapter 7. Now, Chapter 7 is not difficult, it's just scary. It's very nerve-wracking, because, again, our strategy up to this point is to conserve ammo and to conserve resources. And what's the best way to do that? Well, it's to run past enemies. And so that's basically all we're going to be doing in Chapter 7, is we're just going to run. I think all I end up using is a shock bolt. If I remember correctly, the only weapon I use is a shock bolt. So anyway, right here, at the end of Chapter 6, you'll be introduced to a new character, Yukiko Hoffman. She has a safe room, so take this opportunity to pick up any items you might need. There's a coffee pot so you can regenerate any health you might have lost. There's also a mirror so you can go back to Sebastian's save room, and there's a workbench there and whatnot. So go ahead and do anything that you need to do. Again, the reason I'm not going to spend much time in there is because, like I said, in Chapter 7, I'm not going to really be using any ammo. Now, one thing I do want to make clear is that we are not going to be having a safe room in Chapter 7. There is no safe room, so anything you need, you better do it now. So, like I said, you're going to want to have at least 2 shock bolts. If you don't have a shock bolt, then just craft one real quick at the workbench. It's better to craft it there than it is to craft it out here because it uses less resources. Alright, so anyway, we're going to emerge in this building called Post Plus. On a little side note, once we get to Chapter 11, we're actually going to return here momentarily, and this is where we're going to be able to pick up a sniper rifle. So you notice that I did not get the sniper rifle back in Chapter 3. I got the sniper rifle, but I didn't get the parts, so my sniper rifle is actually broken, and I can't use it. So in Chapter 11, I'm actually going to return to this location to pick up the sniper rifle, and I'm going to use that, you know, in some boss fights probably.
The theater.
Anyway, as soon as you exit this building, go ahead and make your way along this path here. There is going to be an enemy to your left. If he happens to see you, that's okay. Just run past him. All you have to do here is run to the theater. As soon as you get to the theater, the enemy will go away because it basically triggers like a little cutscene, and you don't have to worry about the enemy in that case. So no matter what, just go ahead and sprint over here to the theater, and this will lead us into our objective.
The hell are these things about?
And so you can notice how short Chapter 7 is just by the time left that we have in this video. So there's about 19 minutes left, and keep in mind we still have to do the first half of Chapter 8. So Chapter 7 is very short. Anyway, now we have our objectives. We have to destroy Stefano's art. There are going to be 2 pieces throughout the area. We have to find both of them. So you can track them on the signal tracker right there. And now immediately once you gain control of Sebastian, go ahead and run along this sidewalk here, and then you're going to take a right. You want to do this quickly because as soon as that thing drops down from the sky, it's going to bring some enemies with it, so you just want to get through that part quickly, especially because you do not want the enemies chasing you into this section, because this section here, this is going to be the hardest part of Chapter 7. There are 2 witches that we need to sneak by. Alright? So patience is key here. So the first witch, we're actually going to get past her without her ever seeing us. The second witch, we're going to have to run past her. We're just going to have to run around her and hope that we're quick enough. And you'll see that for the first time, she actually was able to hurt me. Luckily, she didn't kill me. I think I got a little lucky. So this is probably the one instance where I did get lucky in this video. The rest of it has been pretty solid gameplay. But anyway, wait until the witch goes off over there behind all of that stuff, and then you're going to creep up behind her like so. You see that orange barricade off in the distance? That's where we're headed. So just be careful, be quiet. I hate those enemies so much, but we're here. So now I'm going to take cover behind this orange barricade, and like I said, it's just a matter of being patient. So in the top left corner of my screen, that's where the alleyway is, and that's where we have to go. Unfortunately, that's also where the second witch is. Now, the benefit of going this way is once we get out to the streets, the Guardian is going to come back. And if you go this way, it's a lot. So there's this building that we're heading towards. And if you go this way, you'll actually emerge right near the building. If you go around the long way, you're going to have a farther run, and that's going to mean that the Guardian might have an easier time catching up to you. So there are pros and cons of going at it from this direction. Anyway, guys, this is where it gets a little tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to creep over to this corner here, and there's going to be another witch in the alleyway. So I'm going to pop my head out so that she sees me, and she'll come to investigate. So here you go. I'm going to pop out. She's going to come investigate, and now I'm going to stand up, and as soon as she gets to this corner, I'm going to run around her. Now, unfortunately, I was a second too late, and you see she was able to swing at me. Not the end of the world. I'm just going to heal myself, jump over these containers, and then just run. Run as fast as you can so that she has no time to catch up to you. You should be fine. Now, that was the first time she hit me. She never actually got me before, so I was a little surprised. It caught me off guard and got me really nervous. But now you can hear behind me the Guardian is approaching, and this is the building right here that we have to get to. And so that's kind of what I was talking about. As soon as you get into this building, the Guardian is no longer a threat. If you had gone the long way around and avoided those 2 witches, it would have been a little harder to run away from the Guardian. So it's just kind of a pick your poison type of thing. But So here we go. We are now in the building that we need to be in, and we're going to destroy the first piece of art. And unfortunately, that means we're going to have to encounter Obscura one more time. However, this time we're not going to have to fight her. We're just going to run past her.
It's just a photo.
Alright, so go ahead and investigate the photo, and that will kind of transport you to the next area. Alright, unfortunately for us, before we can gain access to that area, we have to get a key. And so here's how you're going to do that. You're going to be in this well-lit hallway here. As soon as you turn this corner, you'll see Obscura, but she's going to run away. So until we pick up the key, we don't actually have to worry about her, as long as you're, quick enough and don't dilly-dally around here. But so now I'm going to head over in this direction, and I'm going to pick up the key.
All right. This should get me close to that art.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do, as soon as you pick up the key, Obscura will start coming towards you. Instead of hiding, I'm just going to run. I'm going to run as fast as I can. And you should have plenty of time here. So just run down this room as fast as you can. One thing you might want to consider is shooting a shock bolt in front of this gate here, just in case she's able to catch up to you. I ended up not shooting it. I just ran straight for the gate, mashed the A button, and I was able to get through just on time. Now again, like I said, if you do want to shoot the shock bolt just to guarantee yourself that extra breathing room, feel free, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. And so the good news is we no longer have to deal with Obscura, if I remember correctly, for the rest of the game. I don't think she ever comes up again. The bad news is there still is one difficult section to get past. And then once we get past that section, you're pretty much in the clear to beat this section of the game. So what's going to happen is these electrified wires are going to be shot across the room. I encourage you to turn on your flashlight. It's a little easier to see them with your flashlight on. And then just go ahead and creep around them all.
Hope you're right about destroying these
Sneak
things.
up behind this piece of art, I guess you would say. Interact with it, and that will destroy it. And there you go. And so now what you're going to see coming up is there's going to be this area with Lost, and you're going to see that as soon as I approach them, they run away. Now the reason for that is because in Chapter 7 there's a side quest. There's going to be a member of the Mobius team that gets ambushed by enemies, and the side quest is to go and save him. On classic difficulty, I'm sorry, but you're just going to let him die. There is no point in taking on the extra. There's no point in doing it. There's no point in wasting ammo to do it. So I'm gonna emerge from this building here. The Guardian will typically re-emerge from that location there. So I'm gonna run back inside, and I'm gonna wait for her to go behind the school bus. So you can see the school bus off in front of me. So I'm gonna wait for her to get behind it, and then I'm gonna run away, and we're good to go. Now, this is what I was talking about. So up ahead, you're going to see a couple of Lost in the street. And it's going to look like they're about to charge me, but they won't. So off to the left, there's a member of Mobius' team. And the side quest here is to help him survive. So you see there they go. All the enemies are going to run towards him, and they're going to completely clear up our path. And so like I said, it sucks, but you're just going to have to let that guy die. Now the benefit is by saving him, you gain access to another safe room. The downside is you have to kill a lot of enemies to do that, and there's just no point. There's no point in taking on the risk because we're not going to need that safe room. So instead you're going to run into this building right here. And again, once you get to this location, you don't have to worry about the Guardian or anything. You're pretty much in the clear. All we have to do is sneak past one more room of enemies, and that will bring us into Chapter 8. So let's see, what have I used? So far in this level, I don't think I've used any ammo. I have not used any ammo since Chapter 6. I haven't used a single bullet. I haven't used a single bolt. And we're doing pretty well. We have a good supply of weapons going into Chapter 8, which is exactly what we want. Alright, so go ahead and approach the end of this hallway here. You'll hear you'll hear Stefano kind of mumbling in the background while he's killing someone, some poor girl.
Softer than marble, it really is the perfect medium.
And you're going to have to wait for the conversation to finish before you can actually pick up this key.
Can't concentrate like this. A sculpture doesn't need a tongue.
Okay, and so now we're good to do the difficult part, and all you're going to need in this part is a shock bolt. That's it. So what are we going to do? So first off, I want to have an axe, and there's an axe right here. Usually I have an axe in my inventory, but like I said, I forgot to pick one up back in Chapter 5, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up. Now, I'm not actually going to use the axe. I just like to have it in case a stealth encounter goes wrong. So you're going to see that one enemy will come into this room, and I'm going to kill him with a stealth attack. If for whatever reason that stealth attack doesn't work, I'm going to use the axe to finish the job. Because at this point, you do not want to shoot a weapon. If you shoot a weapon right now, the enemies are all going to run in here and most likely kill you, especially the witch. So instead, I am just going to, I'm going to stealth kill this guy. And again, that's why I have the axe, just in case that goes wrong. So, you know, be patient. Take a couple minutes and memorize his path if you need to. It's not the end of the world. It's worth it if it saves your life. But there you see, I was able to get the kill pretty easily. And now we're good to do the tough part. So what you're going to need is a shock bolt. And what's going to happen is I'm going to rotate my camera here, and you're going to see this enemy off in the distance. So there he is. And he's going to run a path. And that path is eventually going to have him turn around. So get ready for this. He's about to turn. I'm going to go ahead and creep behind this next set of boxes. And then he'll actually turn one more time. So it's really hard to see, but he's eventually going to go off to the right. So again, it's hard to see because of the lighting, but there he goes. And so now I'm going to creep up to this set of boxes here. Now, we're going to wait for him to make another pass. And when he turns around, we're going to equip the shock bolt. We're going to emerge from our cover, and we're going to make our way towards the gate. If the witch is in a bad position, we're just going to come right back here before she sees us. If the witch is in a good position, then we're good to go, and we're good to get through this. So again, notice how I do this, and I'm actually happy this happened, because I think it'll be useful for you guys to see how to do this in case it happens to you. So hide behind these boxes. He's about to turn around. Okay, and I'm gonna wait for him to go to the right. So again, it might be kind of hard to see him, but he's right there. Try to look for the red eyes, and he's about to turn to his right. Okay, so when he does that, I'm going to make my move. I'm going to prep my shock bolt, but you can see the witch is right there. That is what I call a bad spot. We do not want the witch right there. So I'm just going to back up. I'm going to wait another turn, and then I'm going to make a second attempt. And eventually, the enemy's paths should line up so that when this guy goes away, the witch also goes away. And that's going to happen on this attempt right here. So definitely pays to just be patient in this section. You definitely don't want to fight these guys. You definitely don't want them to see you until you're gone. So here we go. He's going to turn around. I'm going to make my move. Now you'll see that the witch is off in the distance. That is what I call a good position. So I'm going to stand up, or crouch. I'm still crouched. I'm going to aim my shock bolt right here. I'm going to shoot it, and then I'm going to run towards the gate. That enemy is going to get stunned, and then by the time the witch actually sees me, I'll be long gone. So there she is. Don't say this often, but you know what? Screw that bitch. She's not going to be able to chase you through this gate, and that is a good thing. And there you go, guys. Once you get past that room, you are pretty much in the clear. All we have left to do is the first half of the Stefano boss fight. And when I say boss fight, it's not really part of the boss fight. I just don't know what else to. I don't know what else to call it. I don't know why my phone just started ringing. Someone's calling me from Delaware. No, I don't know anyone in Delaware. I've never even been near the state, so that's kind of weird. Probably some phone scammer or hotline or something like that. Anyway, this time go ahead and creep around the right side of the room. Again, make sure to dodge all of the electrical wires. It helps to turn on the flashlight. It makes them a little easier to spot. And there you go. Oh man, I think I'm going to need some tea or something after recording this. This is a lot of talking. Alright, so I'm kind of curious. You know how most people don't like the sound of their own voice? I also don't really like the sound of my own voice, but I got a comment on one of my videos from someone saying that I should go into radio because I have a entertaining voice to listen to, and I guess I'm just curious if what you guys think of that. Do you agree? Do you actually like the sound of my voice? Is it just me that doesn't care for it? Or I don't know. That's just something I found entertaining to read, and I'd like to hear some other opinions about it because I certainly never thought of myself as a radio voice type of person. I don't think I'd like to go into radio. One thing I would always have liked to do is like being a baseball commentator. I love baseball. I love commentating, obviously. I think the two would go well together. Anyway, wait for her to run off in that direction, and then just run as fast as you can to this street over here. And we are going to take this street all the way back to the theater. And we're going to reach a similar situation to earlier where we're going to just have the enemies chasing us, but as soon as you get to the theater, they'll stop chasing you. So here on the right, you're going to see a lot of enemies in this yard right here. So what you're going to do is get into these bushes as fast as you can, and then they won't be able to see you. And there's actually a very long path of bushes right here, so you're just going to use these bushes to get all the way to the end. Now you can see how many enemies are off to my left. Now right here I got a bit over aggressive, which was stupid of me, but I'm just going to go ahead and make my run for it kind of prematurely. But here we go. So now I'm just going to run. I'm not going to turn around. I'm just going to run as fast as I can, and they will chase you, but as soon as you get into the theater area, they'll stop. So you see right here, you can hear them chasing me, and then as soon as I cross this gate, it stops. As soon as you cross that gate, they will stop chasing you. Just to be safe, you still might not want to turn around. You might want to just run straight for the theater, but I promise you they won't chase you this far. So it's okay to run past them like that. Again, it conserves us a lot of ammo. All right, guys. So we're almost there. Remember, I said that on my initial recording of this, my game crashed on me right before I saved my game right here. So I had gone through all of this with no results because my game crashed, and I was furious with the game. Luckily that did not happen this time. I tried to be extra careful. Sometimes I think the reason games crash is because you're going too fast. The game almost doesn't have time to catch up to you, and so it will crash because of that. So you're gonna see when I get to the mirror room, I ended up just waiting like 10 seconds before I actually went through the mirror, just to ensure that the game could catch up to me so that didn't happen again. Anyway, there's a syringe right there that you can pick up. Once Stefano is done talking to you, I think I actually missed some gunpowder. There's also some gunpowder in that room that you can pick up. That's okay. But anyway, once you get into that room, it's going to trigger a long cutscene, and then once you get back to the gameplay, that will start what I call the first half of the Sebastian. Gosh, that will trigger what I call the first half of the Stefano boss fight, which is pretty easy. If you've ever played Batman Arkham Asylum, if you remember the Scarecrow sections where Scarecrow was this giant figure in the center of the map and he had this yellow gaze, and if you got caught in his line of sight you would get killed. Essentially the same thing here. There's Stefano's giant camera lens floating in the sky with a blue gaze, and if you get caught in that blue gaze it will kill you. So as long as you're careful here and just plan out your movements, you'll be fine. There's plenty of things to take cover behind. The main trick is to just not get overly aggressive. So you're going to see that he scans to the right, and then he'll scan to the left. And so once he scans to the left, I'm going to make a run for it. In this first initial run, you can actually get kind of far. So I'm going to run up to this cover here. I'm going to run up to this cover here. And I'm actually going to drop down and then take cover right here. You actually will have enough time to jump up and run up to the next piece of cover, but again, like I said, you don't want to be too aggressive because it would be a real heartbreaker to die at this point, especially because this part is really easy. It's not meant to be difficult. Alright, so I'm gonna actually wait. So right now, again, I have plenty of time to actually get to where I need to go, but I'm gonna wait for his gaze to sweep across the opposite way. Okay, so there it goes. And as soon as it passes me, I'm going to make my run for it. Alright, there we go. Now, the next piece of cover, stop once you get behind it, because once you get behind this next piece of cover, he'll change his pattern. So you don't want to run past that piece of cover. So I'm going to stop right here. You can see how he'll change his pattern, and now we're just going to stick to the same routine once again. So there goes the gaze, tries to trick you, tries to make you think it's going away, but it just turns right back around. So you're going to wait for it to go this way, and now you're going to make a run for it. And you can actually get pretty far on this one as well. You can get all the way to this area here, drop down, and continue on the path. Alright, so right here there's a fuse you can pick up. And then I'm going to run down this ramp and hide behind this wall right here. Now, we need to get under the floor right there. So you can see in front of me there's a little crevice to hide under. Now, you got to be careful, because watch what happens to me right here. When I stand up and try to make a run for it, I got caught on the ramp, and that could have easily killed me if I wasn't quick enough. So watch what happens right here. I get up, I run, and I accidentally ran too close to the ramp. I got on top of it, and that could have very easily killed me if I wasn't so quick to get off and run back here. So just try to avoid that ramp, steer clear of it. Alright, so now I'm going to make my move for it as soon as I get an opening. And there we go. Alright, cool. So now there is, I think, two more times for us. So going to make a run for it up to here, jump up, run behind this wall, and then stop. And I'm going to wait for him to do one more full pass. Alright, there it goes. And as soon as you hop up that ledge right there, it will pretty much trigger the end. So here we go. Wait for the light to sweep by me. And there we go. Now I'm going to make my run for it, get up, hide behind this wall, and then just creep up a little bit. And like I said, that will automatically trigger the end of the fight. And there you go, guys. That'll do it for the first half of Chapter 8. So in this video, we've covered Chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, and the first half of Chapter 8. In the next video, we're going to pick up at the Stefano boss fight. We're going to do the rest of Chapter 8. We're going to do pretty much all of Chapter 9, and then we're going to save our game again. So the good news is, if you've gotten to this point, we're done with the long stretches of gameplay. So from here, we're going to be saving our game pretty frequently, like every chapter or every other chapter. And because we've been managing our saves pretty well, we have the ability to do that. Now, approach this mirror. Like I said, this is where my game crashed on me the first time I did it, and I very nearly threw my controller out the window. But go ahead and make your way into Sebastian's save room. Pray to God that your game does not crash on you like it did for me. And then I'm not even going to waste any time at the workbench. I'm just going to immediately save my game to ensure that it does in fact save. I'm going to do a new save file. I'll explain why in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you later.